I'm telling you, man, something feels off. I looked up from my coffee and frowned at Lucas. What do you mean? He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. I mean Chloe. She's not the same. I let out a quiet laugh. You're overthinking it. I'm not, he said firmly. You used to talk about her all the time. Now every time you bring her up, it sounds like you're convincing yourself things are fine. I shook my head. We've been together for 4 years, Lucas. Things change. That's normal. Distance is normal, he replied. Cold isn't. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I stared at my cup, watching the steam fade. You don't see how she cancels plans last minute, he continued, or how she barely texts back. She's busy, I said. Work's been stressful for her. Lucas sighed. You always have a reason, because there is one, or because you don't want to see the truth. I leaned forward, my voice tightening. And what truth is that you're holding on to someone who's already letting go? I didn't respond. I couldn't, because a small part of me had already thought the same thing, but I pushed it down. Look, I said after a moment, forcing a calm tone, I trust her. That's what matters. Lucas studied me for a few seconds, then nodded slowly. All right, but don't ignore what's right in front of you. Later that evening, I sat across from Chloe in her apartment. She looked different lately. Not physically, but the way she avoided my eyes, the way her smile didn't last. So, I said, trying to sound normal, how was your day? Busy, she replied quickly, scrolling through her phone. You've been busy a lot lately. She shrugged. That's life, Ethan. I forced a small smile. Yeah, I guess. There was a pause, an uncomfortable one. Then she spoke again, casually, like it meant nothing. I'm meeting Jason tomorrow. My chest tightened instantly. Jason. She finally looked at me. Yeah, just once. Why? For closure, she said simply. I blinked. Closure? Yeah, she repeated. We never really ended things properly. It's been on my mind. I stared at her, trying to process it. And now it matters? She sighed. Ethan, don't make it a big deal. I'm not, I said quickly. I just didn't expect that. It's just a conversation, she added. Nothing more. I hesitated. Everything inside me felt uneasy, but I didn't want to sound insecure. So, she said, raising an eyebrow, you trust me, right? I forced a smile, even though it felt heavy on my face. Yeah, I trust you. Good, she said, looking relieved, because it's important to me. I nodded slowly. Okay. But inside, something didn't feel right. That night I called Lucas. She's meeting him, I said as soon as he picked up. Who? Jason. Her ex. There was a pause. Then, and you're okay with that? She said it's for closure. Lucas let out a short, dry laugh. Man, closure is just an excuse. It's not like that, I said quickly. She just wants to move on properly. If she wanted to move on, she wouldn't need to go back. You don't know her like I do. I know enough, he replied. This doesn't sound right. I rubbed my forehead. What do you want me to do? Tell her no? Control her? No, he said. But at least don't lie to yourself. I'm not lying. Then why do you sound like that? I stayed silent. Lucas softened his tone. Look, I'm not saying she's doing something wrong. I'm saying you should pay attention. I am. Then be honest with yourself. Does this feel okay to you? I opened my mouth, then closed it. No, I admitted quietly. It doesn't. Exactly, he said. So don't ignore that feeling. I sighed. I just don't want to lose her. There was a long pause before he replied. Sometimes holding on is how you lose yourself. After the call, I lay on my bed, staring at my phone. I kept checking it. No message. Minutes turned into hours. Still nothing. I opened our chat, scrolling through old conversations. Messages filled with jokes, plans, love. Now it felt distant. I typed, "Did you get home safe?" Then I deleted it. I didn't want to seem needy. Another hour passed. Still no message. I locked my phone and placed it beside me. But I couldn't stop thinking. Her voice echoed in my head. It's just closure. I turned to the ceiling, my chest heavy. If it's nothing, Why does it feel like everything is about to change? My phone remained silent, and as I closed my eyes, one thought stayed with me. Why does trusting her feel like losing myself? I told myself I wasn't going to go. She said it's just closure, I muttered under my breath as I grabbed my keys. You trust her. But my hands didn't listen. Before I realized it, I was already outside the cafe she mentioned. I stood there for a moment, staring through the glass. Just check, I whispered. Then leave. I stepped inside, and then I saw them. Chloe sat across from Jason, leaning forward, smiling in a way I hadn't seen in weeks. Not polite, not forced. Real. My chest tightened. I moved closer without thinking, stopping just behind a pillar where they couldn't see me. I miss this, Jason said, his voice calm. Chloe laughed softly. Me too. That laugh hit harder than anything. Jason leaned in slightly. So, was he better than me? She hesitated. For a second I thought she'd defend me. Then she said, quietly, "It was never the same after you left." Everything inside me went silent. I stepped forward before I could stop myself. Chloe, she turned instantly. Her smile disappeared. Not into guilt, into annoyance. "Ethan," she said, frowning, "what are you doing here?" I looked between her and Jason. "I could ask you the same thing." "I told you," she said sharply. "I'm meeting him." "For closure?" I asked, my voice tight. Jason leaned back in his chair, watching me like I was entertainment. "Yeah," Chloe replied. "That's what this is." I let out a small, disbelieving laugh. "Closure doesn't look like this." Her eyes narrowed. "What is that supposed to mean?" "It means," I said, stepping closer, "this doesn't look like two people ending something. It looks like two people starting again." Jason smirked. "You always this dramatic?" I ignored him. "Chloe, just tell me the truth." "I am telling you the truth," she snapped. "Why are you making a scene?" "A scene?" I repeated. "I walked in and heard you say it was never the same after he left." She crossed her arms. And, what does that mean?" "It means exactly what it sounds like," she said coldly. Jason leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "Look, man, maybe you should just go." I turned to him. "Stay out of this," he smiled. "Hard to, when she's sitting with me." I felt my fists clench. "Chloe," I said, my voice softer now, "just look at me and tell me this is nothing." She didn't hesitate. "It's not nothing. That hurt more than anything." "So what is it?" I asked. She exhaled, clearly irritated. "It's complicated." "No," I said. "It's simple. Either you're with me or you're not." People around us had started watching. I could feel their eyes, but I didn't care anymore. Chloe glanced around, then back at me. "Can you not do this here?" "Then where?" I asked. "When? After you decide who you want." Jason chuckled quietly. That sound pushed me over the edge. "Is this funny to you?" I snapped. He shrugged. "A little." I stepped closer to the table. "You think this is a joke?" "I think," he said calmly, "you're the only one who doesn't see what's going on." I turned back to Chloe. "Say it." "Say what?" "Say that you still want him." She stayed silent. That silence was my answer, but I needed to hear it. "Say it," I repeated. She looked at me, her expression hard. "Maybe," she said slowly, "I chose wrong back then." It felt like the ground disappeared under me. I stared at her. "What?" "You heard me," she said. "Maybe I made a mistake choosing you." The words echoed in my head. Choosing you. Like I was an option. Like I meant nothing. I laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. "4 years, Chloe." She didn't respond. "4 years," I repeated. "And this is how it ends." "You're the one making it dramatic," she said. "I'm asking for honesty, and I gave it to you." Jason leaned back again, completely relaxed. "Seems like you got your closure too." I looked around. People were watching openly now, whispering. No one stepped in. No one cared. I felt exposed. Small. Like everything we had meant nothing. I looked at Chloe one last time. "Was any of it real?" I asked quietly. She hesitated, just for a second, then she looked away. "That was enough." I nodded, slowly. "Okay," I said. Neither of them spoke. I stepped back. Ethan, she started, but it wasn't my name she was calling. It was just a reaction, too late. I turned around and walked toward the door. Each step felt heavier than the last. I waited for her voice, for her to call my name, for her to stop me, but she didn't. The door closed behind me, and just like that, everything was over. I pushed the door open, quietly. "Ethan," my mother's voice came from the living room. "Is that you?" "Yeah," I replied, keeping my tone flat. She stepped into the hallway and looked at me carefully. "You're late." "Yeah." She frowned. "Did something happen?" "No." The word came out too fast. She didn't believe me. "Your face says otherwise," she said softly. "I'm just tired." My father's voice came from behind her. "Come sit." "I'm fine," I said. "Sit," he repeated, firmer this time. I walked into the living room and dropped onto the couch. My mother sat beside me. "Did you meet Chloe today?" I stared at the floor. "Yeah? And?" she asked gently. "It's over." Silence filled the room. My mother's hand slowly rested on mine. "What happened?" I let out a quiet breath. "She met her ex." My father's expression tightened. And she chose him." My mother's grip on my hand tightened. "Ethan, it's fine," I said quickly. "It was going to happen anyway." "That doesn't make it fine," she replied. "I'm okay." "You don't look okay," she said. I said I'm okay. My father leaned forward. "Look at me." I didn't. "Ethan." I finally looked up. "You don't have to pretend here," he said calmly. "I'm not pretending." "You are," he said, "and it's pointless." I swallowed, my throat dry. "What do you want me to say?" "The truth." "The truth is," I said slowly, "it didn't matter as much as I thought it did." "That's not true," my mother said softly. "It is," I insisted. "If it mattered, I'd still be there fighting for it." "Or maybe," she said, "you're too hurt to fight." I didn't respond, because she was right. My father leaned back. "We were going to tell you something later." I frowned slightly. "What?" My mother hesitated, then spoke gently. "We got a proposal." I looked at her, confused. "A proposal?" "Yes," she said. "Her name is Olivia Hayes." I let out a quiet breath. "Mom, just listen," she said. "Her family is respectable. She's educated, kind." "I'm not interested," I interrupted. "That's what you always say," my father replied. "Because I am not interested." "Just meet her," he said. "No pressure." I shook my head. "This isn't the time." "There's never a perfect time," he said calmly. "I just ended a relationship." "Exactly," he replied. I frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means," he said, "you now understand what doesn't work." My mother added softly, "And maybe it's time to try something that does." I laughed quietly. "You think this is the solution?" "No," she said. "We think it's an option." "I don't want options," I said. I wanted her. The room went quiet again. My father spoke after a moment. "And she didn't want you." The words hit harder than I expected. "I know," I said quietly. "So now what?" he asked. I didn't answer, because I didn't know. "Are you going to sit in this pain?" he continued. "Or are you going to move forward?" "I just need time." "Time for what?" he asked. "To wait for her to come back." "No." "Heh, then for what?" I looked down at my hands. "I don't know." My mother squeezed my hand gently. "Then don't decide your whole life right now. Just take one step." "What step?" "Meet her," she said. "That's it. It won't mean anything." "It doesn't have to," she replied. My father nodded. "Just a conversation." I let out a slow breath. Everything inside me felt empty, like whatever I had been holding on to was gone. If love is this painful, I thought, maybe I need something else, something stable, something that doesn't break overnight. "Okay," I said quietly. My mother blinked. "Okay? I'll meet her." My father studied me. "Are you sure?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah." But even as I said it, I didn't feel sure. I felt numb. "All right," my mother said gently. "That's enough for now." I stood up. I'm going to my room. Eaton, she called softly. I paused. We're here, she said. I nodded without turning around. I know. I closed my door and sat on the edge of my bed. The silence felt heavier than before. I reached for my phone. Chloe's name was still there. I stared at it. My thumb hovered over the screen. I remembered her voice. Maybe I chose wrong back then. I swallowed hard. Yeah, I whispered. You did. But it wasn't just her. I had chosen wrong too. I had chosen someone who didn't choose me back. My finger moved slowly. Block. Delete. The screen went empty. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I placed the phone beside me and leaned back. This didn't feel like strength. It felt like escape. And for the first time, I didn't fight it. Relax, Lucas said as we stood outside the cafe. It's just a meeting, not a life sentence. I exhaled slowly. I know. Then why do you look like you're about to walk into an exam you didn't study for? Because I didn't choose this. He smirked. You said yes. Yeah, I muttered. I did. He studied my face for a second. You still thinking about her? I didn't answer. That's what I thought, he said quietly. Just don't compare. I'm not. You will, he said. Just don't let it decide anything. I nodded. I'll try. Good, he said, stepping back. Now go. And don't overthink every word. I always do. I know, he said with a small grin. That's your problem. I shook my head and walked inside. I spotted her immediately. Olivia Hayes sat near the window, calm, composed, not checking her phone every second. I walked over. Hi, I said. She looked up and gave a small, polite smile. Hi, Ethan. Yeah, I'm Olivia. I know. That sounded awkward. She didn't react, just gestured to the seat. Sit. Thanks. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she broke the silence. So, she said, do you want to start with honesty or small talk? I blinked. Honesty? Yeah, she said simply. It saves time. I let out a quiet breath. Okay, honesty. She nodded. You don't want to be here. I gave a small, surprised laugh. That obvious? Yes, fair enough, I said. I didn't plan this. Neither did I, she replied. I looked at her. Then why are you here? Because sometimes, she said calmly, life doesn't ask what we planned. I leaned back slightly. That's a very calm way to look at it. It works for me. I studied her for a second. You're not nervous. No, not even a little. She shook her head. Why would I be? Because this is kind of serious. It doesn't have to be, she said. I frowned slightly. What do you mean? She looked at me directly. We don't have to pretend. That caught my attention. Pretend? Yeah, she said. We don't have to act like this is perfect or romantic or meant to be. I stayed quiet, listening. We can just be decent to each other. That line stayed with me. Simple, no pressure, no expectations. For the first time in weeks, I felt something different, not happiness, but relief. I like that, I said quietly. Good, she replied. I nodded. Because I don't think I can do perfect right now. I'm not asking for perfect. I hesitated, then said, I just got out of something. I figured, she said. I looked at her. You did. You have that look, she replied. What look? The kind that says you trusted someone too much. I let out a small breath. That obvious. Yes. I nodded slowly. Yeah, that sounds about right. She didn't ask for details. She didn't push. That silence felt respectful. So, I said after a moment, what about you? What about me? Why did you agree to this? She shrugged lightly. My family asked. I said yes. Just like that. Just like that. No expectations? She shook her head. Expectations ruin things. I smiled faintly. I'm starting to believe that. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it. Unknown number. But I knew who it was. Chloe. A message appeared. I locked the phone without replying. Olivia noticed. You can answer if you want. It's nothing, I said. She didn't question it. That's rare, I said. What is? Not asking questions. She smiled slightly. People talk when they're ready. I nodded. Most people don't wait. I do. I looked at her again. She wasn't trying to impress me. She wasn't trying to hold me. She was just there. And somehow that felt easier than anything I had before. Later, outside the cafe, Lucas was waiting. Well, he asked immediately. I shrugged. She's different. Good different or boring different? Calm different. He raised an eyebrow. That sounds healthy. You sure you like that? I smiled slightly. I think I need it. He studied me. You look lighter. I feel less pressure. That's a start, he said. My phone buzzed again. Another message. Ethan, please. Just talk to me. Lucas glanced at my phone. Her? Yeah. And I locked the screen. I'm not replying. He nodded slowly. You're finally choosing yourself. Maybe, I said. But inside, I knew the truth. I wasn't fully healed. Not even close. I just stopped chasing. And for now, that was enough. The doorbell rang just as I sat down. I frowned. I'm not expecting anyone. My mother called out, Ethan, can you check? Yeah, I replied, standing up. I walked to the door and opened it. My grip tightened instantly. Chloe. She stood there, eyes slightly red like she hadn't slept. Hi, she said softly. What are you doing here? I asked. Can we talk? I hesitated. There's nothing to talk about. Please, Ethan. I exhaled slowly, then stepped aside. Make it quick. She walked in, looking around like everything was still familiar. It hasn't changed, she said quietly. It has, I replied, closing the door. You just don't live in it anymore. She flinched slightly. We stood facing each other in silence for a moment. Then she spoke. Jason was a mistake. I didn't react. I just needed closure, she added. I let out a small breath. Closure doesn't look like betrayal. Her eyes widened slightly. It wasn't betrayal. I looked at her directly. Then what was it? She hesitated. I was confused. No, I said calmly. You were sure enough to go. That's not fair. It's accurate. She stepped closer. We had history, Ethan. I nodded once. We had trust. You broke it. Her expression shifted. You're acting like I cheated on you. I didn't raise my voice. You emotionally checked out before you physically left. That's worse. That's not true. Then why did it feel like I was the only one still in the relationship? She didn't answer. That silence, I said, is your answer. She ran a hand through her hair. I didn't think it would go this far. You met him for closure. You met him for closure. You smiled. That doesn't mean anything. You said it was never the same after he left. Her voice dropped. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? She looked away. I don't know. I nodded slowly. Exactly. She stepped closer again. Ethan, I came here to fix things. There's nothing to fix. There is, she insisted. We can work through this. We, I repeated. There is no we anymore. Her eyes filled slightly. You're just going to throw everything away? I shook my head. You already did that. That's not fair. It is, I said calmly, because I didn't walk away. You did. I came back after choosing someone else. She went quiet. I continued, my voice steady. That's not love, Chloe. That's convenience. That's not true, she said quickly. I realized my mistake. Mistakes happen once, I replied. This felt planned. It wasn't. Then why didn't you tell me you were talking to him before that night? Her face froze. That was all I needed. You were, I said quietly. It wasn't like that. She rushed. We just started talking again. For how long? She hesitated. Say it. A few weeks. I held her gaze. I say again. Her voice dropped. A few months. The room felt colder. Months, I repeated. It didn't mean anything at first, she said quickly. It just happened. No, I said. You let it happen. I was confused. You were comfortable, I corrected. You kept me while you figured him out. That's not fair. It's the truth. She stepped back, shaking her head. You're twisting everything. I'm finally seeing it clearly. Tears rolled down her face. I came here because I thought you'd understand. I do understand, I said. That's the problem. Then why are you acting like this? Because I respect myself now. That stopped her. You didn't respect me when you hid him, I continued. You didn't respect me when you chose him in front of me. And you didn't respect me when you thought you could come back like nothing happened. I said I was sorry. Sorry doesn't rebuild trust. It should mean something. It should mean something. Caught. That's not true. Then why didn't you stop before it got this far? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Silence answered for her again. I stepped back. You should go. Heathen, go. She wiped her tears. You're really done? I nodded. I'm really done. She stood there for a second longer, like she was waiting for me to change my mind. I didn't. Finally, she turned and walked to the door. Before leaving, she looked back. You're going to regret this. I shook my head. No, I already regret what I ignored. She left. The door closed, and this time I felt nothing. Later that evening, my phone rang. Hello? Ethan? It's Sarah. I frowned. Chloe's friend? Yeah. What do you want? I think you deserve to know the truth. I already do. No, she said softly. You don't. I stayed quiet. She's been talking to Jason for months, she continued. Not just texting. Calls, late nights, meeting up. My grip tightened on the phone. Meeting up? Yes. Before that night? Yes. I closed my eyes. That night wasn't closure, Sarah said. It was just the first time you saw it. I let out a slow breath. Why are you telling me this? Because you were good to her, she replied. And you didn't deserve that. I didn't respond, Ethan. I hear you, I said quietly. I'm sorry. Me too. The call ended. I sat there, staring at nothing. Months, I whispered. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't confusion. It was a choice. And somehow that hurt more than everything else. Early morning again? Lucas asked as he sat across from me, watching me finish my workout notes. I nodded. Can't sleep properly anyway, he smirked. Or you're just turning into a disciplined guy now. I let out a small breath. Trying to. Trying, he repeated. Man, a month ago you were barely replying to texts. Now you've got a routine gym schedule, and you're actually showing up early. I had no choice. Everyone has a choice, he said. You just finally made a better one. I leaned back. It doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like I'm fixing something that broke. He studied me. And are you? I paused. Yeah, I think so. Later that week, I met Olivia again. You look more settled, she said as we sat down. Is that good or bad? I asked. It's good, she replied. You seemed restless before. I nodded. I was. Still thinking about her? I didn't avoid the question this time. Sometimes. She didn't react. That's normal. You don't seem bothered by that. Why would I be? She asked. Most people would. I'm not most people, she said simply. I smiled faintly. I'm starting to see that. She leaned slightly forward. Are you doing this for yourself or to get over something? The question caught me off guard. Both, I admitted. She nodded. As long as you're aware. Aware of what? That you don't need to prove anything. I frowned slightly. What do you mean? You're working hard, she said. But not to impress anyone. Isn't that what everyone does? Some do, she replied. You don't have to. I stayed quiet. Then she added, You don't have to prove your worth through success. You already have it. That line stayed with me longer than expected. That evening, Lucas called me. Guess what? He said immediately. What? Jason dumped Chloe. I blinked. When? Couple of days ago. Heard it through mutuals. I leaned back in my chair. Why? Same pattern, apparently. He wasn't serious. I stayed quiet. Hey, Lucas said, noticing the silence. You okay? Yeah. Just like that? Yeah. He paused. No reaction? I thought about it. Not really. You don't feel anything? I exhaled slowly. I feel nothing related to that. He laughed slightly. Man, you've changed. Is that bad? No, he said. It's just different. I looked at my reflection in the window. I used to react to everything. And now I don't see the point. Good, he said. That's progress. The next time I saw Olivia, I told her about it. Jason left her, I said. She nodded calmly. I heard. You did. People talk. I waited for a reaction. She didn't. Give one. You're not going to ask how I feel about it? I asked. She shook her head. Do I need to? I smiled slightly. No. I smiled slightly. No, you guess not. She leaned back. And how do you feel? I thought for a moment. Nothing, really. Nothing, she repeated. Not in a cold way, I clarified. Just detached. She nodded. That's healthy. You think so? Yes, she said. You're no longer tied to something that hurt you. I looked at her. I used to think hearing that would make me happy. And now it just feels quiet. Quiet is good, she said. I exhaled slowly. I'm starting to understand that. Later that night I sat alone, reviewing my progress. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I checked the message. It was Chloe Ethan. I need help. I stared at the screen. No emotion rushed in. No urge to respond. No urge to respond. No anger. Just awareness. I locked the phone without replying. A few minutes later, Lucas texted. Still ignoring her? I typed back. Yes. He replied almost instantly. Proud of you. I stared at that message for a moment. Then I set the phone aside. I sat there thinking. Not about Chloe. Not about Jason. Not about the past. Just about where I was now. Why does this feel different? I murmured to myself. Because for the first time I wasn't trying to fix someone else's version of me. I was building my own. And that felt enough. Ready? Lucas asked as he adjusted my tie. I looked at myself in the mirror. I think so. You think? He repeated with a grin. I exhaled. Yeah, I'm not nervous like I expected. That's a good sign, he said. Means you're not forcing anything. I nodded slowly. Maybe. He stepped back and looked at me. You look different. Different how? Calmer, he said. Like you're not carrying something heavy anymore. I smiled faintly. I used to be. And now? Now it feels lighter. Lucas clapped my shoulder. Good. Don't overthink today. I always do. Not today, he said. Today, you just show up. At the venue, I stood beside Olivia before the ceremony started. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I replied. You? She nodded. I am. Not nervous? A little, she admitted, but not in a bad way. What kind of nervous? The kind that means something matters. I looked at her. That's a good kind. She smiled slightly. Yeah. There was a pause. Then she added, You're quieter than usual. I've been told that a lot lately. Is that intentional? No, I said. It just happens. She nodded. That's fine. I glanced around. This feels simple. That's the idea, she said. No big drama, I said. No confusion, she replied. I let out a small breath. I think I like that. The ceremony began. People stood around us, but I barely noticed them. I focused on the moment, on the words, on Olivia. Do you take this woman to be your partner? The officiant asked. I didn't hesitate. I do. My voice was steady, not forced, not emotional in a dramatic way, just certain. Then it was Olivia's turn. I do, she said queerly. Her eyes met mine for a brief second. No pressure, no expectations, just understanding. After the ceremony, Lucas approached me with a grin. So, he asked, how does it feel? I thought for a moment. Different than I expected. Good different? I nodded. Yeah. I nodded. Yeah. Not empty. I shook my head. No. Regret. No. He raised an eyebrow. That's rare. I let out a small laugh. I thought I'd feel something missing. And I don't. He studied me. That says a lot. Later I stood alone for a moment, watching the guests talk and move around. Olivia came beside me. Quiet moment? She asked. Yeah. Thinking a little. Flight. About her? She asked gently. I didn't deny it. Yeah, but not in the way I used to. She nodded. That's progress. I looked at her. I used to think I'd always carry that with me, and now it feels distant. She smiled softly. That's because it no longer defines you. I exhaled slowly. I think this is the first time I've felt stable. Not happy? She asked. I am happy, I said. But it's not loud. What is it then? Quiet, I replied, and steady. She nodded. That's the kind that lasts. As the evening went on, conversations continued. Laughter filled the space. But nothing felt overwhelming, no tension, no emotional highs that crashed into lows, just balance. At one point, Olivia leaned closer and spoke softly. We'll figure this out together. I looked at her. Those words didn't feel like pressure. They felt like partnership. I paused, then replied, Yeah, we will. And for the first time, I meant it without hesitation. Later that night, Lucas found me again. You look peaceful, he said. I feel it, I replied, still thinking about everything that happened before. Not really, I said. It's there. But it doesn't control anything anymore. He nodded. That's the difference. I glanced back at Olivia across the room. I used to think love had to be intense to be real. And now? He asked. Now I think real love doesn't confuse you. Lucas smiled. Took you a while to get there. I shrugged slightly. Some lessons take time, he laughed. Yeah, but you got there. I looked around one more time. No chaos. No uncertainty. No emotional noise. Just a steady moment that didn't need to prove anything. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was recovering from something. I felt like I had arrived somewhere new. Ethan, wait. I stopped walking. I didn't turn right away. I already knew that voice. Chloe, I said calmly. Turning to face her, she stood a few feet away, her eyes red, her expression tired, nothing like the confident version I once knew. Can we talk? She asked quietly. I nodded once. We can. We stepped aside from the crowd, into a quieter corner. She looked at my hand first, then at the ring. I heard. She started, then paused. You got married? Yes, I said. She nodded slowly, like she expected the answer but still struggled to accept it. Congratulations, she said, though her voice cracked slightly. Thank you. A silence followed, not uncomfortable for me anymore, just neutral. She looked down at the floor, then back at me. I lost everything, she said. I didn't interrupt. My job's been unstable. Jason left, and I've been trying to fix things, but nothing works. Her voice trembled. I keep thinking, if I had just done things differently. She stopped, swallowing hard. I stayed quiet. Then she looked up at me. Did you ever love me? The question hung in the air. I didn't answer immediately, not because I didn't know, but because I wanted to be honest. Yes, I said finally. I did. Her eyes filled instantly. But, I continued, keeping my voice steady, I don't need that version of me anymore. She frowned slightly. What does that mean? It means, I said, I loved you when I didn't value myself enough. She shook her head. That's not fair. I never meant to hurt you like this. I know, I replied, but intent doesn't change impact. She took a small step closer. So that's it? Everything just ends like this? It already ended, I said calmly. We just didn't accept it at the same time. Her breathing became uneven. I made a mistake. Yes, I said. You did. She looked like she was waiting for something else. Anger, blame, anything familiar. But I didn't give her that. I stayed calm. That's it? She asked softly. No anger, no resentment. I shook my head. No. Why? She whispered. Because holding on to anger would keep me tied to the past, I said. And I'm not there anymore. Tears started falling freely now. Ethan, I thought you'd come back someday, she said. I know. I waited in my own way. I know that too. Her voice broke. Then why does it feel like I'm the only one who lost everything? I looked at her, not with pity, but with clarity. Because I moved on, I said. She shook her head slowly. I didn't think it would end like this. Ha! Neither did I admitted. She let out a shaky breath. Do you regret loving me? I paused. Then I answered honestly. No. Her eyes searched mine. But I learned something from it, I added. What? I learned the difference between loving someone and losing yourself for them. That hit her hard. She stepped back slightly, as if the words physically pushed her. I see, she said faintly. I continued, you didn't destroy me. She looked up. You showed me what I needed to change. Her lips trembled. And now, I said, I'm okay. She closed her eyes briefly, then nodded. I guess I was too late, she said. Yes, I replied softly. You were. That was the truth. No anger, no cruelty, just truth. She wiped her tears, trying to steady herself. Goodbye, Ethan, she said. I nodded. Goodbye, Chloe. She hesitated for a second longer, then turned and walked away. I didn't follow. I didn't stop her. I just stood there. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had lost something. I felt like I had finally let go. I sat quietly on the balcony, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. You're thinking again, Olivia said as she stepped beside me. I smiled faintly. I guess I am. She leaned on the railing. About her? Not really, I replied. More about everything. She nodded. That sounds deeper. It is, I said. A small silence followed, not heavy, just calm. Olivia looked at me. Do you ever feel like your life changed too fast? I thought for a moment. Yes, but also exactly when it needed to. She gave a soft smile. That's a good way to look at it. I leaned back slightly. I used to think losing her was the worst thing that could happen. And now I think it was the beginning of something better. She didn't respond immediately. She just listened. I continued. If she hadn't left, I probably would have stayed the same. Waiting, adjusting, ignoring things I shouldn't have. Olivia nodded. You were stuck. Yeah, I said, and I didn't even realize it. She glanced at me. Do you regret any of it? I shook my head. Not anymore. What changed? I did. She smiled softly. That's the only thing that really matters. I looked at her. I almost lost myself trying to keep someone else. Olivia stayed quiet, letting the words settle. Then she said gently, and now? I took a slow breath. Now I know the difference between holding on and letting go. She nodded. That sounds like peace. It is, I said. Not excitement, not intensity. Just peace. I rested my arms on the railing and looked out again. The past didn't feel sharp anymore. It felt distant, like something that belonged to a different version of me. Olivia stood beside me, close but not overwhelming. Thank you, I said quietly. She looked at me. For what? For not trying to fix me, I replied. Just being here. She smiled. You fixed yourself. I shook my head slightly. I started too. That's enough, she said. I nodded. We stood there for a while without speaking. No pressure, no questions, no unfinished tension, just silence that didn't demand anything. I realized something in that moment. I wasn't chasing closure anymore. I wasn't trying to understand why everything happened. I had already accepted it, and that acceptance gave me something I hadn't felt in a long time: stability. I glanced at Olivia again. She noticed. What is it? Nothing, I said with a small smile. Just thinking how different this feels. Better? She asked. Calmer, I replied. And real. She smiled back. I looked back at the city, then said quietly, almost to myself, she didn't break me. She showed me the cost of loving without self-respect.